Spend 5 or 10 minutes in the health and wellness sector of the internet right now, and you're almost guaranteed to hear about peptides. So what is driving all the hype? And what do you actually need to know before going down that rabbit hole? So first, let's address the basics. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, the same building blocks that make up the proteins in your body. Your body already makes thousands of them naturally, and they act like messengers, telling your cells to do specific things. Repair this tissue, release that hormone, etc. Peptides are not new. They've been studied in research labs for decades, and biohackers, functional health practitioners, they've actually been using them for years. What's new is that the conversation has kind of gone mainstream. Athletes, longevity enthusiasts, and everyday folks are now thinking about experimenting with them. So the real question is, why the sudden explosion? Well, 3 things kind of happened all at the same time. For one, GLP-1s kind of changed everything. When Ozempic and Wegovy went mainstream, millions of people all of a sudden kind of got comfortable with the idea of injecting a peptide for a health outcome. So that kind of physiological barrier is dropped a little bit overnight. Now, 2, the biohacker community, they've been using peptides quietly behind the scenes for years. And now that community, it's a bit louder. So what used to be kind of these niche forum conversations are full episodes on the biggest health podcast you'll find. And then number 3, I'd say people are just kind of tired of waiting. I mean, traditional research, as we know, moves very slow. And in the meantime, the wellness world is doing what it always has, running experiments on themselves and then sharing their real-time results online. Now, here's where it gets important. When people say peptides, they're usually mixing up 2 completely different things. And so we really have 2 categories. Category 1, these are your FDA-approved prescription drugs. Semaglutide, that's Ozempic and Wegovy. Tirzepatide, that's Mounjaro and Zepbound. These are real medications made by real pharmaceutical companies, prescribed by real doctors. And they are kind of in this normal regulatory box. Category 2 is everything else. So peptides like your BPC 157, Sermorelin, CJC 1295, that's this kind of category 2. And I gotta say, this category kind of lives in a whole completely different world. So here's what that world actually looks like. Starting in 2023, so pretty recently, the FDA placed a number of peptides into kind of a restricted category, meaning compounding pharmacies in the US could no longer legally make them. BPC 157, thymosin, alpha-1, all of these ended up on this list. Now, most of these peptides have never been FDA approved for human use. Doesn't mean people haven't been experimenting with them. So earlier this year, RFK Jr. actually announced that some of them could move back into a category where licensed pharmacies may be able to compound them again. But that is still not the same as FDA approval. It would simply mean that certain peptides can be made legally by a licensed pharmacy with a prescription if that whole regulatory change is finalized. Everything else kind of sits at a much grayer area and is often sourced overseas, labeled research use only, and there's some real question marks around quality, consistency, and of course, safety. So here's the part that fascinates me the most. We're in this moment right now where a lot of people are experimenting with peptides. And most of them are wearing wearables like your Oura Rings or Whoop or Apple Watches that are kind of passively tracking exactly the things peptides are supposed to do. And that's where us at Reputable, we're kind of starting to think about what a real safe, ethical, real-world study in this space could actually look like. Now, I'm not going to promise anything today. There's still obviously a lot of regulatory things that need to be factored in. It's a complicated space, and we want to get it right. But if this is something that you'd want to see us tackle, if you have ideas, let us know in the comments, send us a DM. Let's get the conversation started around peptide use and data, and let's see where things can go from there.